Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Superstars of Wrestling review series for the 12th of October 1991. Big Boss Man starts us off. Boss Man, of course, feuding or doing a house show run with IRS, shoulder tackles and punches and basic stuff tossed to the outside and tossed back in by the Boss Man. Boss Man, of course, in the best shape of his life, 91 through 94. At least I believe that's what he was. Palm heel strike to the top of the head, which is pretty cool at the time. IRS does an inset, basically calling the Boss Man attack sheet. Big kick and a spine buster, and the Boss Man slam gives us the victory there. We go to a update with Gene Okerlund, starts plugging the Survivor Series. Survivor Series, of course, in 1991, the first time in the 87, 89, 90, 91, 5 year at that point expansion of the pay per view that the World Championship will be on the line. First time in the history of the franchise. Anyway, Paul Bearer talks about The Undertaker, talks about taking the soul of Hulk Hogan. Hogan basically does a promo where he says he is not intimidated by death. His Hulkamaniacs train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and believe in yourself, and you can overcome anything, including The Undertaker. The hype is there. I remember 1991. It was the time after being a fan for a couple of years. By the beginning of '92, I had turned on Hulk Hogan because of the Arsenio Hall thing. Him getting caught lying about steroids was a big thing to me, even as a child, and so it took me away from Hulk Hogan fandom. The Genius out next with a poem for the Beverly Brothers. Bo and Blake have transitioned onto the Genius after the failed experience with the coach. The Bushwhackers are the team to feud with the Beverly Brothers here at the time, anyway. Beverly Brothers, as mentioned, Bo and Blake, Wayne Bloom, and Mike Enos of the Destruction Crew in the AWA. Of course, by this point, the AWA has been all but eliminated. Big power slam by one of the Beverly Brothers, and yes, I have trouble telling them apart, so sorry I can't give you more there. Anyway, that power slam leads to a hug between the brothers. There are homophobic slurs that are chanted to the Beverlys throughout, encouraged by the Bushwhackers on house shows. Obviously, 30 years ago, that was acceptable. Certainly not now, or I wouldn't even call it acceptable. It was tolerated back then, but not considered now. Uppercuts and the like, and the double underhook suplex by one of the Beverlys into the Shaker Heights from Ohio. Virgil talks about still wanting to get even with Ted DiBiase while he still has the $1 million belt. They continue that feud for another couple of months yet. And then the Mountie talks about wanting to get even or get at Bret Hart and handle the Hitman. The Mountie always gets his man type stuff. That's a pretty big deal at the time. We go down to Mexico once again with Tito Santana. Many people in Sombreros outside of the, I guess you'd say, little shops, mini shops down in Mexico, sombreros and the like. A cake is set. I guess they thought the El Matador thing was going to add a layer of legitimacy to him. Him being Santana, of course, pronouns, pal. Anyway, Jake Roberts makes his way out as a heel, holding on to the Cobra. Pretty big deal. People still cheering Jake Roberts in the front row, which I find odd that they'd be kind of focusing in on that. He was wearing the black glove due to handling the Cobra. Anyway, Roberts punches, kicks, stomps on the hands of opponents and the like. He's slower. Not that he was ever quick moving before, but more deliberate as a heel than as a babyface. Of course, Jake comes in '86 as a heel and turns less than a year later, probably 6 months later, something like that. Anyway, his babyface run pretty legendary, but going back heel was a good thing. Too bad it didn't last longer because his WCW run was abysmal, and the next few years for Jake, because of addiction, were a pretty big loss from late '92 through about '96, and then he fell off again. But anyway, stands on the guy, really arrogant like, and pulls him up, short clothesline, followed by a DDT. The fear of the Cobra, the pretty big thing, and it's there, it's really there. Event Center comes up, and they kind of are starting to move towards plugging the Survivor Series a little more. Hogan doing basically USO tour, natural disasters, talking about squashing whomever, wherever, whenever, Legion of Doom specifically. That is their big feud for the fall into through the winter. LOD and natural disasters. Luckily, I don't think I ever had to see those matches live because I don't think I would have enjoyed them. I'm not big man matches. Have never really done anything for me unless they're power big men. Even a Kevin Nash or Scott Hall, something like that, where there's athleticism and power. Big men just for the sake of bulk and muscle, not my thing. Anyway, British Bulldog in hip tosses, shoulder tackles, and some basic stuff, arm drag. He, hits some basic stuff. Always with the chin locks in Bulldog matches. It's only hit me after watching a bunch of this stuff. The hanging vertical suplex, followed by the power slam, and the Bulldog gets a victory. To think that he is, November, December, January, February, March, about 10, 11 months away from, about 8 months, 10 months away from winning the Intercontinental Championship here is pretty intense, and they weren't even thinking that way at that point. Ric Flair is out, and he's hyping. Actually, Bobby Heenan is out hyping Ric Flair. Flair wants to eliminate Piper. Flair wants to eliminate Hogan. He's the real world's champion. Bobby Heenan with Ric Flair is masterful, and it's sad to me that Bobby's neck was giving out at the time because I think him with Flair longer term would have been good for business. Flair talks about being the cause of all this, talks about wanting to get rid of Hogan, wanting to get rid of Piper, and, it makes it a pretty big deal. Then we go to a Skinner enhancement match. Skinner, a character that never really got over. I don't even remember him. I remember him having matches. I guess Skinner and Ricky Steamboat was a program. I don't ever remember seeing one of their matches at a house show. Maybe it just didn't probably hit my loop, but not my town. Anyway, some shots from behind on good old Skinner, and he continues to go at the enhancement talent pretty aggressively. Hits the inverted DDT and gets a victory. Bret Hart talks about wanting to get rid of the Mountie, wanting to be the best wrestler in the area because he's the Intercontinental Champion, and the Intercontinental Champion needs to be the best at all times. That's basically the hype that he gives, and then we go to the Legion of Doom talking about the natural disasters and how the natural disasters are a force to be reckoned with, but not an intimidating force to the Legion of Doom. That will close us out for this particular episode. We'll be back with more right after this.